Welcome to another episode of The Guy Code. I'm Reno Serena. Guys, on this episode, we're going to be talking about loyalty. Now, what does loyalty mean for men? And what does loyalty mean for women? Now, let's start from the very beginning. As boys, growing up, we get to play sports that are team-oriented. Football, or what some call soccer, basketball, team sports, field sports, right? Now, these sports instill in us the principle of duty, right? When you're in a team, you understand duty. This is your role. You're a striker, you're a midfielder, fielder, or you are a defender. That is your duty, right? You don't go out of bounds of your particular role in that team. Also, you understand hierarchy. They're captains, they're leaders of the team, right? So when you have a dispute or when you feel like there is something off, you may address it within the team, but you still operate within that sense of duty, right? You do not just switch teams in the middle of the game. It never happens. You may have a problem with your teammate, you may have a problem with your captain, or even your coach. In the middle of the game, you have a disagreement, but that doesn't mean you switch teams. That is how we are as guys growing up. Now, ladies involve themselves in lady games, right? Social games, family games. Now, for those games that they play, like house and all the other such games, when there is a dispute, many of them, the game stops. She might feel offended. She doesn't want to play anymore. Why? Because she's not moved by a sense of duty, right? When you're playing house, you're playing dolls, you feel offended, you just stop playing, right? Most that's how ladies have responded, right? You may stop playing and just leave. For boys, you have to finish the game. You don't just argue with your teammate and walk off the field. Leave your team with less than, 11 men. You have 10 men, 9 men in the field. That doesn't work like that. You finish the game, then you hash it out, later. Sometimes, most times, he doesn't even leave the field. That's how we boys have grown up dealing with such things. But women and the games ladies usually play, the game stops. And they're like, I'm going home or whatever, I'm playing with someone else, such like things. So that's how it usually is for them. And it makes sense. That's why right now, I'm going to say a statement that summarizes this, is that women are loyal to their feelings in the moment. Most men are loyal to their sense of duty. So when you're speaking of loyalty, right, for most women, their innate nature, they have to be loyal to their feelings first. What am I feeling in the moment, right? If they feel detached, if they feel quote-unquote uninspired, then they will leave that situation, whether it is a relationship, whether it is, whatever interaction. Maybe career-wise, it may not, because there might be some legal and civil implications if you just up and leave for most of these contracts. But you will find that even in the corporate space, many women can't leave jobs because they feel uninspired. They feel uninspired, they feel unmotivated. Nothing's particularly wrong with the job, they just don't feel inspired to keep working there. For a man, most men, they will stay in that job because they have responsibilities. to themselves, they have goals they want to reach, right? So for most of us guys, also the world has put it in such a place that we can't just do what we want when we want it, right? For most of us who are leaders in families, who have children, who also leaders in relationships, or even in families where you are the first child, you're the firstborn and such, you're being looked up to. So you can't just do what you want whenever you feel like. That's not a privilege you grew up with. And that's a reality that most of us have gotten to accept. So for those of us guys who are used to dealing with people who work with a sense of duty, you get to meet women, and this was me, or maybe even some of us included in our earlier years, whereby, let's make a very relatable example. When you first got flaked on, right? You're asking a lady out, you got a number maybe on a Tuesday evening. You decide to book a date immediately, say, okay, how's your weekend? There was very high level of interest, the vibe was nice, the chemistry was nice at the initial meeting. That was great, right? You said, well, seems like this date will be great, the energy is already there from the first meeting. Well, a few days later, you're trying to catch up. Hey, we're still on for Saturday, maybe holla at on Friday in the evening. Hey, how you feeling about, Saturday? We still on, just confirming. As a guy, you already had plans in your head. You already planned out your day on how you're going to fulfill your prior obligations, because this is an obligation that you said you're going to do, and you made it happen. At that day, or in that evening, when you reach out, she's like, I'm not feeling it. Maybe some other time. And you're wondering, didn't you just tell me just a few days ago you seemed very enthusiastic to meet? In fact, she could have been the one, pushing for it, like, oh, yeah, we should do it, Saturday. Then 2 days later, she just, nonchalant with it. You're wondering, why all of a sudden the change? Well, that's how it is. That's how it is. At the time, she was very enthusiastic and very interested, but their moods fluctuate. So you might think her interest was very high, but it just fluctuates over anything. Many times it has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with her own moods, her own hormones. And it's not a bad thing. It's just a reality we have to accept. That's why we are here on this red pill platform, just understanding the truth of what actually happens, right? And that's just how it is. She will be loyal to her own feelings first. She just doesn't feel it at the time, and she will just express it, whether it is in alignment with what she promised before or not. Doesn't matter to her in that moment. She will just express what she feels in that moment. And for many of us guys who deal with a sense of duty, whereby we have to do what we have to say because there are implications if we do not, it's a sense of duty. We have to do it because many people are banking on us, and the result that we want is dependent on those actions. We know we can't just up and leave in many situations and many setups. So we have to operate with a sense of duty. Ladies can operate with a sense of feeling what they want to do in that moment, right? So we should understand that even situations whereby she seems to have changed her mind, like that one, her interest just goes, and you're wondering, okay, did I do something wrong? It probably has nothing to do with you. Most likely it has nothing to do with you, bro. It just changes because that's what she's loyal to. Anything could have changed her mood. Maybe hormones, maybe an external happening, something she experienced, something someone she knows experienced, whatever it is. And when this happens earlier on, we wonder, did she lie? Did she lie, or was she leading me on before? Well, if she was leading you on before, there are those who actually do that and are manipulative, right? Those are the ones who may actually play a facade for an extended amount of time to extract certain values from you, then leave, right? Valuables from you, then leave. Whether it's your resources or time or just attention, whatever it is, right? For this one, who the mood just changes, she didn't really lead you on. She just expressed how it is. And later on, she may change her mind. In fact, many of us have experienced ladies who earlier on showed little to no interest, right? And many of us decided to, especially on this platform, we understand how to leave it as it is and move on. She just comes around. You wondering, did I do something to bring her come around? No, not really. Just was loyal to her feelings in the moment and went around and did it. So, many of the times this happens because she's just loyal to what she feels in the moment. So these are some of the truths that we need to understand as guys in dealing with these women and how they change their mind because it is their prerogative and privilege to do so. We do not have that privilege in most cases, right? And if we dare decide to change our mind, there'll be a lot of implications. Good example in marriage, even though, of course, I cannot deny the fact that in a case of divorce, it is costly to both parties, right? But we have to also acknowledge the fact that there are many divorces that the women are initiating. Why? Because they do not feel happy, right? They do not feel fulfilled. They may not feel like they're growing or whatever the case is. So they will want to initiate the divorce. For most men, if things hit a quote-unquote rut or a plateau in marriage, we just decide to accept it as that is the new norm. And we still do what we're supposed to do. We have no problem with something being routine, but most women, since the feminine is like female nature and it needs that kind of inspiration, they need to feel like they are inspired in these different spaces. So if they are not inspired and they're not getting that rejuvenation and that kind of spark in the relationship, they'll want to leave and look for it somewhere else. You're wondering, what was wrong with how I was? There was nothing wrong with how you were. It's just wasn't enough for her or enough exciting enough for her. So guys, I just wanted to share that truth with us on this episode. We could delve in more on this topic since it's a very wide topic. I appreciate your feedback. Please keep it coming on the Telegram group, on my Twitter account at GuyCode Kenya. And until next time, we shall talk soon. Bye.
Guy Code with Rena Osware.